Welcome to my channel. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. This one time, I went to my friend's cousin's funeral over in Fresno. I wasn't close to his cousin, but out of respect, I showed up. Plus, my friend had been really down about it, so I figured I'd stay around to support him. The funeral started earlier in the day, but I ended up staying until it was dark out, longer than I expected. The whole vibe was heavy, you know? Everyone was either crying or just staring blankly like they weren't even really there. Of course, there were also like 3 or 4 guys just drinking their heads off in the distance, but I didn't join them. I was mostly just standing around, paying my respects. At some point, I realized I needed to use the bathroom, so I slipped out quietly, trying not to draw attention. The bathroom was a bit off from the main area, down this short, quiet hallway. Right next to the bathroom was the big room where in the daytime, folks would gather around and eat. Of course, now it was mostly empty because most people left already. Inside the bathroom, for some reason, the lights were too dimmed, kinda adding to the whole eerie vibe. It was quiet, dead quiet. No one else in there, not a single soul, just me. I checked all the stalls, just out of habit, I guess. First stall, empty. Second stall, empty. Third, also empty. Etc. So I head to the last stall, the one at the very end, and I lock the door. I've always preferred the last stall, as far away from everything as possible. I was in there doing my thing when I saw it. At first, it was subtle, so I didn't pay much attention, but then it caught my eyes again. Feet. There were feet in the stall next to me. You know how you can see under the stall door, right? I saw these shoes, but they weren't there when I came in. I didn't hear the door open. I didn't hear anyone walk in, but now there's someone right next to me. I froze for a second, trying to make sense of it. I mean, I'm sure I checked all the stalls. I would have noticed if someone came in, right? But there they were, just a pair of shoes, barely visible under the stall next to me. I thought it was weird, but maybe I was just too zoned out to notice. I finished up, stood up, and as I turned to unlock the door, I saw it again. The feet were moving, slowly. I stopped, mid-step. They weren't just standing there anymore. They were moving, slowly, sliding toward me, inch by inch, with this unnatural, dragging motion. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. The feet were inching closer to the gap between the stalls, like they were following me. No footsteps, no noise. Just those shoes sliding in this slow, creepy way. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't take my eyes off them. The shoes were old and beat up like something someone would have worn years ago. Not like the polished black shoes I'd seen on almost everyone else at the funeral. I didn't even think. I just threw the stall door open and rushed out, my heart racing. But as I stepped out, I glanced back. Those feet, they moved again. And this time, they turned. Slowly. The shoes were facing me now. I stood there, frozen in place. The stall door was still closed, but those feet had somehow turned around, like whoever was in there was now staring directly at me from the other side of the door. Except I didn't hear a single sound. No shuffling, no movement, just those feet now fully facing me. I can't even explain how terrified I felt. I tried to shake it off and hurried to the sink to wash my hands. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I was trying to act like everything was normal, even though it so wasn't. I was just scrubbing my hands, trying to get out of there as fast as possible. Then I heard it. A whisper. It was soft, like a breeze barely brushing against your ear, but I could hear it. And it was coming from the stall with the shoes. I froze. My hands were still under the running water, but I couldn't move. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it, but no. There it was again. This low, raspy whisper like someone was trying to get my attention. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but it sounded wrong, like the voice didn't belong to anyone. After that came a knock, just one soft knock, like someone gently tapping on the stall door. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't help it. My eyes darted toward the stall. Knock, knock. Another knock, louder this time. My pulse was racing, and my hands were shaking as I turned off the faucet. I tried to act calm, but inside I was losing it. Then, from behind the stall door, I saw it. A head, slowly rising from behind the door. I could only see the top part, just a forehead at first, creeping up over the top of the stall, like someone was pulling themselves up to look at me. I didn't wait to see the whole face. The moment I saw that pale, sweaty forehead, I was done. I bolted for the door, not caring who saw me or if anyone else was there. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to explode out of my chest. I grabbed my jacket, said a quick goodbye to my friend, and left as fast as I could. I couldn't stay another minute. Thing is, I've never seen anything like it again. Not once. It seemed like a one-time thing, like whatever it was just passed by me that night and moved on. No complaint here. Trust me, I'm fine with never running into that again. If it was something else, I'm glad it decided to leave me alone. Story 2. It was for a distant relative, someone I barely even knew. My family told me it was the right thing to do, pay my respects and all, so I just kinda went along with it. It was on Belmont Ave, not far from the Chaffee Zoo, right there in Fresno. You know the area, right? Kind of a mix between busy streets and quiet neighborhoods. So I show up and there's already a bunch of people inside, some I recognize and a lot I don't. The main room was huge, packed with chairs, flowers, and those big portraits of the deceased. You know how they do it. I found a seat somewhere in the back, just trying to blend in. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. I figured I'd just sit there, listen to whatever speeches they had, and then sneak out after a respectful amount of time. Next to the main room, they had this other big room where they set up food. It was a buffet, open to everyone, and you could just go in and grab something to eat when you felt like it. I didn't even feel hungry though. Maybe I ate earlier, or maybe the whole scene just kind of took my appetite away. Either way, I just sat there. At some point I must have dozed off. I don't even remember when it happened. One minute I was just staring blankly at the people in the room, listening to the muffled sound of conversations and speeches, and the next, I was out. Just sitting there on the bench, leaning back like I didn't have a care in the world. I don't think anyone noticed. It's not like I was making a scene or anything, just quietly slipping into sleep. When I woke up, most of the people had already left. I rubbed my eyes, trying to get my bearings, feeling a little disoriented. You ever wake up from a nap and not really know where you are for a second? That's how I felt. I sat up and looked around. There were a few people still hanging around, some talking quietly in the corners, but for the most part it was empty. I guess the funeral had wrapped up, and I didn't even realize it. I stretched out, feeling all stiff from sitting too long, and decided it was time to head out. I got up, left the big room, and made my way outside. The cool night air hit me as soon as I stepped out, waking me up a bit more. The parking lot was nearly empty now, just a few cars left. I walked toward my car, stretching my arms and neck, thinking about how I was just going to head home, maybe grab a late-night snack somewhere on the way. But then I saw her. At first, I didn't think much of it. Just some woman sitting near my car, her head down like she was tired or upset. It made sense. This was a funeral after all. People get emotional, need a moment to themselves. So I didn't really pay attention, just figured she'd move or maybe needed a minute before heading to her own car. But then I heard it, a soft chuckle. It wasn't loud or anything, but it was enough to make me pause. It wasn't the kind of laugh you expect to hear after a funeral. It was off, almost playful, but there was something weird about it, something that didn't sit right. I stopped in my tracks, maybe 10 feet from my car, and looked closer at her. She still hadn't moved, still had her head down, hair hanging over her face. But there was something about the way she was sitting that made me uneasy. The air felt heavier all of a sudden. I told myself I was just being paranoid, that it was late and I was tired. But my gut was screaming at me that something was wrong. You okay? I called out, more out of instinct than anything. My voice sounded weird to me, like it didn't belong in that moment. No response. She didn't even flinch. I took a step closer, trying to get a better look. Hey, are you all right? That's when she finally moved. Slowly, almost too slow, she lifted her head, and when she did, my stomach dropped. The hair that had been covering her face fell away, and I saw her for what she really was. Her face was blue, very, very blue, But it wasn't just that. Her eyes, they were wide, staring straight ahead, but they weren't focused on anything. It was like she wasn't seeing me or anything around her. And her smile, God, that smile, it stretched across her face in a way that wasn't right, like her lips were pulled back too far. It wasn't the kind of smile that makes you feel at ease. It was the kind that makes your skin crawl. She laughed again, that same soft chuckle, and it echoed through the quiet parking lot. My heart started pounding in my chest. I wanted to move, to back away, but I was stuck, rooted to the spot. I knew deep down that this wasn't a woman. This was something else, something I shouldn't be seeing. I don't know how long I stood there, but it felt like an eternity. She just sat there, smiling, her eyes empty, like she was waiting for something. My mind raced, trying to figure out what to do, but nothing made sense. Every instinct told me to run, to get in my car and leave, but my body wouldn't cooperate. Finally, I managed to take a step back, my legs feeling like they were made of lead. I kept my eyes on her the whole time, not daring to look away. As I moved, she didn't follow me with her eyes. She just kept staring straight ahead like she was in her own little world. When I reached the driver's side of my car, I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking. I kept glancing back at her, expecting her to move, to get up and come toward me, but she never did. She just sat there, head slightly tilted, that smile still plastered on her face. I finally got the door open and practically threw myself inside. I locked the doors, started the car, and backed out of there as fast as I could without looking back. My heart was racing, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I didn't stop driving until I was halfway across town. When I finally pulled over, my mind was racing. What the hell had I just seen? Was it real? Or was I just overtired, imagining things? But no matter how much I tried to think about it, I knew deep down that I wasn't imagining it. I'd seen something I couldn't explain, and it shook me to my core. From that night on, I never went back to that funeral home. In fact, I avoided Belmont Ave entirely. Every time I think about that woman, or whatever she was, sitting near my car, that eerie smile on her face, I get a chill down my spine. Some things aren't meant to be understood, and whatever that was, I wasn't about to stick around and find out. Thank you for listening to this video. I'll see you in the next one.